All right, I think that we're here. Anyway, testing. Hopefully, everybody can hear me. I always say that, but I'm pretty sure people can hear me. Let me see. Blah blah blah. Da, 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 da. Hmm. Let me just give this a little bit of time. Wait for some people to join in. If you do join in, go into the chat and say what's up. Say what's up. I'm in a good mood. I'm in a good mood. I just got done listening to the song Try That in Small Town. See how far you take it there. uh Good song. Good song by the way. But I'm here. I'm in a good mood. We gotta get into T-Babe, chapter 438. Um my guy, strategist said that it was some good things that happens in this chapter that I'm gonna like. So I'm gonna take his word for it and say there's some good things that happen. But before I get into it though, I'm not sure if you guys ever read Mistborn series, but I've been reading it, and I got to tell you, I'm gonna make I'm gonna make a video about the entire just the first book, right? Because I finished that book and I'm already on to the second one, and now I'm not gonna spoil it. I'm not gonna spoil it, but I've been enjoying it, like I said before. And my what would I say? Uh, the second book that I'm reading of Mistborn right now, I'm actually enjoying that more than the first, which is kind of crazy because I didn't think it would be like that. But I'm actually enjoying the second book more than the first. But but yeah. So like I said, I'm in a good mood. I'm in a good mood. I'm ready for the chapter. I've been looking forward to it because no more relic tombs. We got Saris and personalities and conversations that I'm getting hyped about. But hopefully you guys can all hear me okay. But say what's up. Say what's up in the chat. Say what's up in the chat. I'm still thinking about doing the whole Discord live like discussion thing. I'm still thinking about doing that. I'm not sure when though. I'm pretty sure it might either be. I mean, it could possibly be later on today. It could be tomorrow. I'm not sure what's the best time for that. But like I said, I want to have like an actual discussion and have people, on and voicing their opinions or whatever about the series. So, and then it'd be cool to kind of just talk to some of you guys and get your opinions about the story because it's a lot easier to communicate, uh, you know, via chat. Well, not via chat, but via voice or whatever the fuck you want to call it, than just trying to comment or just leave some stuff in the comment section or whatever. So, because you can't really explain everything you want to explain. But but yeah, like I said, I'm in a good mood, so I'm ready to get started into this chapter. Like I said, I heard good things about it, so hopefully it's good. Hopefully it lives up to a little bit of the positive expectations, I should say. But I guess let me just get into it. Let me not wait because I don't know how long this stream is gonna be. So let's just get in. So 438, a loose idea. Arthur Leywin. Okay. Okay, Arthur's perspective. So that's cool. All right. It was a loose idea at best. Arthur, Kara said with uncharacteristic hesitance, her tone almost pleading, a whim, really. If it's not possible, I'm not an artificer. You don't need to take it so seriously. Wait, who was talking? It was a loose idea at best, Arthur. Kara, sorry, Art. So that's Kara saying that. Kara said with uncharacteristic hindrance or hesitance in her voice, almost pleading. A whim, really. If it's not possible, wait. So who's saying a whim, really? If it's not possible, I'm not an artificer. You don't need to take it. Okay, this is Kara. So this is Kara talking. But why? So I guess from Arthur's perspective. Um, I was sitting cross-legged on the ground in front of Ceres with Realmheart active. The violet runes it conjured beneath or burning beneath my eyes as I carefully watched her focus mana into and through the rotting head. That's crazy. I guess the Orloff's head is really like, because they said that she didn't want her to be the catalyst of the spell or whatever, but like I guess that even though his head is rotting, his head is still like the focus of being able to prevent them from going into the relic tombs in the first place, which is kind of crazy because I would think it would have deteriorated already and kind of been useless, but I guess it's still possible. The violet runes conjured burning beneath my eyes as I carefully watched her focus mana into and through the rotting head of Sovereign Orloff. I'm taking it seriously because I think it might just work. I guess this is Arthur, right? Kara's answering frown was contemplative as it turned from me, as it turned from me to Sarah's. I followed her gaze. Sarah's alabaster, alabaster skin, I think I said alabaster skin, was sickly gray and covered in a sheen of perspiration. Ever since our arrival, she seemed to have shrunk into herself. I needed to understand exactly what was happening between her, the machinery, and the cadre of other mages acting as a living battery. At first, it seemed impossible that. So, what the fuck is her plan? Like, they teasing us with this plan, they're not even telling us what the plan is. At first, it seemed impossible that she had been able to keep this up for 2 weeks without rest. Her mana signature was incredibly weak, her core nearly empty. Her feat would not have been possible at all, except for the fact that in her desperation, she had developed her own rudimentary version of mana rotation. Wow. Okay. So either she already knew how to do that, or her being in this sort of like very dire situation, she kind of like forced her body to figure it out because that was the only way she was able to keep this up. But then he called it rudimentary. So it's not really that great. But how can he call it rudimentary? So it's not as efficient, I guess. I mean, I guess the Lancers could probably do it better than she can. Maybe that's why he's calling it rudimentary. But develop her own rudimentary version of mana rotation um that allowed her to absorb and purify mana from the atmosphere while also channeling it into the horn. I followed the mana as it was drawn in through her veins. As it was drawn in through her veins to her core, where there was a constant swirl of purification before black tinged mana was released to trail down her arm into the gory artifact. That's actually really interesting. So that goes to show that since he called it rudimentary, we got to assume that she's not practicing doing this. So this is something new to her because she's not doing it very efficiently. Otherwise, she did it. If the size already knew how to do this, then he wouldn't have been calling it rudimentary, and he would be thinking that they would be more efficient in it. So this is something that. So I guess what it's telling to me is that even the sides aren't like they don't even know how to do mana rotation yet. So you would think all the Asuras know how, but the sides don't. So that's interesting. Into the artifact. From there, it seemed to condense rapidly. Wait, I just lost where I was at. Where the hell was I at? Blah blah blah. Okay, I found it. It seemed to condense rapidly some inborn trait of the ritual horns that I didn't understand. It seemed to condense rapidly some inborn trait of the ritual's horn that I didn't understand before being drawn out again by the bright blue liquid. So it goes in and then it condenses rapidly and then it gets drawn out by the liquid. The mana took on a darker hue after being released by the horn. Metallic wiring then guided it to several large crystals. These were being constantly imbued by a handful of mages each. Thanks to Realmheart's ability to see the individual mana particles, I was able to follow along as chunks of stored mana were pulled out of the mana crystals and into artifacts that reminded me of old school Earth satellite dishes. I can kind of picture it. These dishes which were covered in a complex diagram of runes, condensed and projected the mana in such a way that it distorted the portals, creating something like a feedback loop in which the portal still existed, but anyone coming through them wouldn't be able to leave before being drawn back. Well, let me reread this again. These dishes, so he's talking about the satellite dishes, which were covered in a complex diagram of runes, condensed and projected the mana in such a way that it distorted the portals, creating something like a feedback loop in which the portal still existed. So the portal still exists, but anyone coming through them wouldn't be able to leave before being drawn back through the portal and deposited on the other side. So, but anyone coming through them wouldn't be able to leave before being drawn back through the portal and deposited on the. Oh, so it's like you go through it, but then it draws you back to where you started, I guess, in a sense. As Cyrith explained, the blue liquid was an alchemy of pulverized mana crystals suspended in a biologically organ. Hold on, let me say this again. As Cyrith explained, the blue liquid was an alchemy of compound of pulverized mana crystals suspended in a biologically originated compound crafted mostly of mana beast cores. Holy shit, and chemicals proven particularly adept at transmitting mana. That's fascinating. In effect, Ceres had invented a mana battery. So we know batteries, they last for so long, but then they also need to be recharged. But the battery is kind of like a housing mechanism for energy, right? And it gets expended, but it also be recharged. But then it has a limited amount of times that it can be recharged before it goes dead or whatever. Just basic understanding of batteries. So is that the same thing with the crystals, or can they just constantly recharge this liquid with other people's mana indefinitely? They're probably gonna get into it. In effect, Kierzak invented a mana battery. In this case, however, the artifact was specifically designed to utilize Orloff's mana, and their attempts to pivot to alternate sources have proved unsuccessful. Okay, okay, okay. I'm following along. Kara's idea will only be possible because of my presence. Wait, what? Kara's idea. So we still don't know her idea. There's more teasing. Kara's idea will only be possible because of my presence. So let me try to speculate. Okay, let me try to speculate a little bit on what her fucking idea is. So it's something that only Arthur can do. We're getting an understanding of the mana crystals and how the battery works, utilizing Orloff's mana. But then they said the artifact was specifically designed to utilize his mana specifically. So Kara doesn't. Okay, so here's what I would say first. Kara doesn't know about Realm Heart. I don't think, has she ever seen Realm Heart? Let me think. He got Realm Heart when he was fucking with the fucking the Keystone with Ellie, right? When she was making all the shapes and stuff like that with her pure mana. So yeah, he got Realm Heart then, and then he went and he fought like the Scythes like shortly after he unlocked it, and then during the fight with not the Scythes but the Wraiths, and then after he fought the Wraiths, that's when he got better understanding. He could see like the ripple in between the mana and the ether to where he can use the ether to influence the mana, and then that's how he was able to do all this shit with imbuing mana into certain objects and things like that, using ether to influence it. But all this time he wasn't around Kara, so I don't think Kara knows anything about Realm Heart like at all. So she couldn't be thinking that he could use his ether to manipulate mana in some type of way in order to do something. So it has to be about something else. So it has to be about. So what could she be thinking that only he could do? It has to be something we do with ether, but I'm just trying to figure out what. I don't know. But I'm just kind of, you know, hypothesizing, I guess I would say it. So it was unsuccessful. Okay, so Kara's idea will only be possible because of my presence. Alex, glad you're in here. Somebody leave some comments, helping me out. But I know, he got it in the cave. I know that. So Kara's idea will only be possible because of my presence. After bursting out in a pain manic laugh, Kara had grown nervous, clearly second guessing herself. Go on, I encouraged her, curious. My own mind was already whirling with ideas as I struggled to see how to help Saris, and her input was welcome. After clearing her throat and waving away the frustrated healer who was tending to her wound, which looked much worse than I had originally thought, she had said simply, I was thinking just no, I was just thinking of your unique magic. How you may be the only person who could possibly even do something like this, but could we somehow power this device using the abundant ether in the relic tombs? I don't think it works the same way. My instant reaction is no, because ether doesn't work the same way that mana does. I would think they have to make an entirely new device that's powered by ether instead of mana, and then maybe they could do that. But then, do they have the time to create a new device like that? That's what I'm thinking right now. Her simple suggestion had firmly planted the attention of all the many mages in the plaza back on me. Since the moment I'd appeared inside the Relic Tomb's second level, I had been on the receiving end of countless stares. Some gazed at me with starry-eyed wonder, while others glowered distrustfully. But everyone turned away when I met their eyes. I had become something of a mythical figure in Alacrius since the Victoriad, it seemed. Okay. How the hell does he come to that conclusion just at looking at a couple people's eyes? He automatically deemed that, oh yeah, I'll become a mythical figure. Like, unless he already knew what Ceres's plan was, how does he just come up with that conclusion just by looking at some eyes? Oh yeah, they look at me like I'm some mythical being. Oh, okay. I don't buy that, but okay. At least it meant that when I took over and started giving orders to the mages operating the disruption artifact, everyone listened. I'd already been watching Sarah's process for quite some time. Yeah, how long have they been there? She had left it to her people to answer my many questions as she instead focused on the continued transmittal middle transmittal of mana. My sister was asleep on the cot straight. Yeah, they've been there for a minute. She already asleep on the cot straight ahead of me. Boo passed out beside her. Both had pushed themselves to the extreme in escaping the last zone. I was thankful that Ellie had continued to push herself while I'd been gone for nearly 2 months. As get wait. Yeah. While he was gone, right, with Mordain and stuff. I was thankful that Ellie had continued to push herself while I'd been gone for nearly 2 months, as Gideon and Emily's testing had helped her discover an additional connection between Boo and herself. Okay. Her ability to imbue mana was limited by her own light yellow core. Yeah. That's right. It's light yellow. She's like right on the cusp of initial silver. Her ability to imbue mana was limited by her own light yellow core. But have we heard? Listen, you know what's so crazy? When it comes to Ellie and her mana core, like we never had I don't think we ever had a scene of like her sitting down and like refining her core the way that Arthur does all the time. So I'm wondering like how often it actually happens. What's up, Vasquez? Vasquez is here. What up, though? Um, so where am I at? But yeah, we never seen her like sit down and like try to purify her mana core like how Arthur does all the time. But she knows how because Arthur taught her how to do it when she formed her own core like super early. What was it like at? Did she form her own core? Help me out. Ellie first formed her own core. Wasn't it like at 11 or some shit like that? Like super early or like 9 or some early ass age she formed her core. I don't remember. But anyway, Gideon, blah blah, drawn out by Boo's inherent mana. Yeah. So it's limited by our own light yellow core, but by drawing on Boo's inherent mana, she could push far beyond her own limits. Black Clover, pushing beyond your limits. That's what I think about. As much as he burned out quickly, Chul recuperated just as fast. His many wounds were already scabbed over, despite him not allowing the Alacrian healers to treat him. Now he paced around. Man, Chul, man, I wonder how much more we're gonna get about Chul. Chul is fascinating too. Just kind of learning more about him. Now he paced around the outer perimeter of the plaza, and he's probably just like, I ain't gonna accept no help from no Vritra Alacrians, the enemy. Oh man, but now he paced around the outer perimeter of the plaza, drawing nervous looks from the ascenders. Sylvie and Regis stayed near me. Sylvie, that's another thing too. So listen, there's quite a few things that we haven't. I understand. I understand. So I'm not like too hard pressed on like, oh my God, we need to get this and this and this need to happen. Like we only can focus on one thing at a time. So I guess what I'm saying is that there's quite a few things that needs to be discussed that haven't been discussed yet. So like for one, Sylvia's core, Kara still has it. She hasn't actually given it to Arthur yet. I'm not too pressed about that just because with everything happening, with like the fighting going on, with her being locked up and being tortured, all the shit that Kara went through, and then immediately as soon as she gets rescued, they're going to the relic tombs again, and then now they're fighting to survive in the relic tombs, and then as soon as she gets back to the relic tomb or gets back to the second level, Sarah's her mentor is looking in a way that she's never looked to her before. So she got all these emotions about with Saris and stuff. So there's a lot of shit going on in Kara's mind. So I can completely find it understandable that she hasn't even thought about the core that she got from Nico. So that's understandable. I completely understand that. Another conversation that we haven't gotten yet was Sylvie. Sylvie got all the information and shit when she was comatose. And so she woke up and immediately using her ability to freeze the shit or whatever, and then helping to leave. So she still need to have conversations about what she's learned in that whole state that she was in. So she need to have more conversations with Arthur and Regis about how their connection all works and how they're meant to like how they're all needed together in order for them to actually go and get insight into fate, right? So like that conversation needs to be had, and it's probably another one that I'm missing, but those are the main two that I'm thinking of. But right now, Saris is getting all the focus and attention. So I'm just wondering when we're gonna have these conversations. Um, what did you say, Alex? I have a question that is not related to the chapter. Did you see the official design of the site center retainers? It came out like 3 days ago. No, I haven't looked at it. Um, I'm not sure if it's unlocked for me because I think I told you guys this. I told you guys this before. I don't pay $20 or $25 to get access to all the four chapters. I pay five. So it's like I think four chapters that I don't get access to, and there's some other perks that I don't get access to either. So it might be some pictures or some stuff that I don't get to see. But no. But I mean, but plus I don't keep up on I don't like keep up on everything that's going on with Turtle Me. I get the emails and stuff when he does like posts and different things that he talks about, whether it be about his meeting that he had some while ago, meeting fans and stuff like that, and about his thoughts on like the new chapters and shit like that. But I don't get access to everything. But see, Instagram, I'm not even on Instagram. I don't have an Instagram, so I don't know anything about that. So, but no, I haven't looked at it. But I'll check it out. I'll check it out at some point. I'm guessing it's cool. I'm guessing it's cool. Yeah, I like the pictures of the what the scythes and what you said the scythes and the retainers. So that's cool though. That's cool though. I'm very interested in seeing. So did we get all of them? Do we get what? Do we get all of them? Let me see if I can remember all these scythes. You got Melsry, you got Viessa, you got Dragoth, you got Cadell, you got Saris, Nico technically, and I think that's everything, right? Melsry, Viessa, Cadell, Dragoth, Saris. I think that's the five, right? And then you got all the retainers. So you got I don't know all the retainers. I know you got Cyrith, you got Lyra. I think that who else retainer do we know? I don't know. I don't know the retainers. But that's cool though. I'm very interested in seeing the pictures though too. Maybe I can check really quick. Maybe I can check because you know what? I don't think that the Patreon. I don't think I'm signed in on this computer on Patreon, so I can't even look and see if I even seen it or not. I don't know. I'll check it out. I'll check it out at some point. But I'm pretty sure it's cool though. So anyway, what was I saying? I was talking about the conversations that need to be had and Kara's idea. Okay, so let me see where I'm at. So Ellie continued to push herself. Chul recuperated super quick. He didn't allow the Alacrians to heal him. Sylvie and Regis stayed near me. Okay. So they kept their thoughts quiet. And listen, also too, since some of you guys are here, let me know if let me know if you want to join in on having like an actual discussion about the chapters on Discord, because I don't know who's all willing to cam up, or I guess I'm not going to require everybody to just cam up or whatever, but just be able to have the conversation, just talking about the chapters and get everybody's thoughts on some of the things that they liked or disliked or whatever it is. So just let me know, leave a comment or something let me know if you're interested in joining the discussion, because I know not everybody's going to be interested. So I guess just let me know. But where am I at? So yeah, Sylvia and Regis stayed near me. They kept their thoughts quiet and unobtrusive, but our connection was never entirely severed. Sylvie's mind was buzzing with the aftermath of her experience in the Road Tombs, but we hadn't had a moment to talk about it. Regis, on the other hand, was laser focused on my task, attentive to each detail. Even though I didn't experience his thoughts directly, I could still feel the gears of his mind turning like the shadow of my own. There are three main obstacles to this sort of conversion, I said softly, so that only the handful of people directly around me could hear. The battery housing here was designed from the ground up to make use of the virtuous mana as a source. Because of how the basilisk physiology utilizes mana, the withdrawal and the disbursement of that mana can't be effective with any other source that I know of. The withdrawal and disbursement of that mana can't be effective. Huh. A mana crystal just can't be condensed enough to handle the draw. A mana crystal can't be condensed enough to handle the draw. Like ether, I guess the draw on ether, I guess is what he's talking about. One of Sarah's imbuers shrugged uncertainly. Yes, this has been the primary roadblock we've experienced. Sarah's active focus had been the only alternative to work so far, but that is obviously unsustainable. That also means that this design is basically useless for the storage or transmission of ether. Oh, so he wasn't talking about ether. He was talking about how the mana crystals can't be condensed enough to handle the draw of what, the mana from Orloff's head, I guess. The battery housing here was designed from the ground up to make use of the Victra's mana as a source. Like the video, you guys, too. Don't forget to do that. Help out the channel and like the video. I know some of you might have forgot. But anyway, a mana crystal just can't be condensed enough to handle the draw. One of Sarah's imbuers shrugged uncertainly. Yes, this has been the primary roadblock we've experienced. Sarah's active focus has been the only alternative to work so far, but that is obviously unsustainable. Appreciate the likes. Appreciate you guys. That also means that this design is basically useless for the storage or transmission of ether. I continue. The second problem is the projection artifacts. The runes, okay, so the projection artifacts. The runes are specifically designed to work with mana. That's what I thought. Like, it's not designed to work with ether, right? And ether probably works a little bit differently anyway. And not only that, but decay attribute mana natively associated with the basilisk race. Wait. The runes are specifically designed to work with mana and the decay attribute mana natively associated. So it's not only specifically designed to work with mana, but specifically basilisk mana. We designed additional rune work, Cyrus replied. He was standing behind and beside Ceres, looming over the tank where she held the ritual's horn, his arm crossed. but without being able to channel, like this is like the first time, I was also thinking about this too. This is like the first time Arthur and like Cyrus like actually like had a conversation where it wasn't like based on Cyrus telling Cyrus to do something. The last time they had a conversation was back when he met Arthur and was stopping him from being stupid and emotional and going to try to rescue Tessia. That was like the only time they actually like spoke. And so now it's like the second time they actually had a conversation with one another. So it's kind of interesting just seeing how Cyrus reacts to Arthur, because even Cyrus' conversation with Cyrus was that he was saying how she puts too much faith in Arthur. Like, why is Arthur so important? And like, is he like, yeah, he's strong, but is he really that important? And so like he doesn't really trust Arthur like that and doesn't really believe in him. So I'm kind of interested in seeing like how he acts. Obviously, his body language is like kind of closed off, right? Arms crossed. He's thinking about Cyrus and her well-being and whatnot. So I just think that's kind of cool too, just having them actually communicate back and forth. The second problem is the projection artifacts. The runes are specifically designed to work with mana, blah blah. So we've designed additional rune work. Salad replied. He was standing behind him beside Sarah's, looming over the tank where she held the ritual's horn, his arm crossed. But without being able to channel enough pure mana, the alternative projection artifacts. The alternative projection artifacts were useless. And it is exceedingly dangerous to switch between the designs, as taking down more than one or two of the artifacts weakens the disruption. I nodded, unsurprised. So they're basically trying to so even based off of the conversation that they're having right now, right? Their basic goal is they want to keep the disruption artifact active to prevent anyone from going into the relic tombs, but that doesn't solve their problem though. Because if they still keep it active without using Cyrus as the catalyst, right? Let's say they figure it out. Then now they can't leave either, right? So they can't leave the relic tombs. Nobody else can get in. And they still are going to starve because they don't have enough food. Like that solves one problem, but they still got other problems that need to be figured out. So I'm still trying to figure out what's the point in doing all this. Like, I guess Arthur using the portal, I guess he can, use them to go back and forth between Decathlon and, I don't know. Why not just take them to the Beast Glades in Ellenwire, old Ellenwire, and just have them. I don't know. I don't know. So it's dangerous to switch between the designs, and taking down more than one or two of the artifacts weakens the disruption. I nodded, unsurprised. But the biggest problem is that there's no way to collect ambient ether into the machine. Even if we are able to correct the other two problems, I don't even know if something like that is possible. Even the relic tombs themselves, which exist in a place entirely made of ether, degrade and collapse with time. The very nature. That's so funny because that's exactly what Sylvie said when she was having the conversations about the very nature of ether is shit. What was that word we kept on getting over and over and over and over again? When things like slowly go into chaos or slowly breaks down. How the fuck can I forget this word? Y'all gotta remember this word, right? It was the word like not disorder, but like when things break down and slowly become, uncontrollable, chaotic, or whatever the fuck it's called. What the hell was the word that they kept on using? Come on, you guys got to be able to help me out, right? You guys got to be able to help me out. The word that they kept on using when Sylvie was going and she was having the conversation with the thing that looked like Sylvia, or that reminded her of Sylvia, and it's the nature of ether. They said that Regis was the embodiment of what the hell was this word? Let me look at this shit since you guys can help me out right now. I'm at a loss. I'm at a loss right now, and I gotta figure this out. Skills of understanding. Um, da, 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 da. Entropy. That's what it is. Entropy. Entropy. That's what I'm talking about. Okay. Guys didn't even help me out. Oh, you helped me out at the last second. Okay. Okay. Help me out at the last second. You were late. You were late. But no, but entropy, yeah. I think that's how you say entropy. Shit, I think that's how you say it, right? I think I'm not. Because that was a new word for me when I first heard that shit. Yeah, entropy. A thermodynamic quantity representing the unavailability of a system's thermal energy for conversion into mechanical work, often interpreted as a degree of disorder of randomness in the system. So disorder, randomness slowly goes into disorder and randomness. All right. Like the stock market reigns supreme with entropy because you can't predict that shit. Okay. All right. Now I lost track where I was at. Got to go back. Shake my head. Tenet. I never seen that movie. Isn't that the movie that was directed by the same guy who directed Inception? Yeah, I haven't seen that movie. I heard people. I heard it was mixed reviews about that movie, Tenet. Oh, you recommend the movie? Okay, okay. Entropy. Yeah, I've seen the trailers. I know what it's about. Shit like rewinds and go back in time and shit like that. That's kind of crazy. Um, I'm trying to remember where I was at. So it's been a primary word block. All right, we've designed additional room work. The biggest problem is that there's no way to collect ambient ether. The very nature of ether. Yeah, so this is where we at. Entropy. Yeah, so the very nature of ether is to actually counter to what we're trying to do. Sylvie looked up, her gaze sharpening. The armor draws in ether. That's right. When he was sparring with the lady who made that armor and helped them get his better, helped him like form his sword better. She said that it will help him draw in ether a lot easier. And yeah, yeah. So what does that mean though? Stick the armor into the fucking water or some shit or the crystals. The armor draws in ether. I shook my head, but to do anything with that ether, it still needs the person inside it. Listen, we're not trying to revolutionize the way we power all artifacts across the world, right? We just need to get the little rebel queen here. Wait, is this Regis? This gotta be Regis. Like you can know who's talking based off of how they talk. Like nobody talks like Regis, bruh. Nobody talks like. Listen, we're not trying to revolutionize the way we power all the artifacts across the world, right? We just need to get the little rebel queen. Like he calling her the rebel queen, bruh. Rebel queen here, unplug and buy these people some time. So use me. I can draw an ether and focus it through the rest of this shit if you can make it all work. I hesitated. It was true that etheric particles were naturally drawn to Regis. That fact was instrumental in my creation of the ether core to begin with. We'd basically be replacing Ceres with you. It would be a temporary bandage at best. But Regis is probably a little bit more resilient, I would think, because he can probably do mana rotation, but with ether, right? He can probably draw in ether and then expel ether, and he can probably draw in ether a lot better than Ceres can, or drawing ether a lot better than Ceres can draw in mana. Okay. Okay. This is interesting. I'm still trying to figure out what's the end goal though. What's the end goal? Like we got these temporary things, but what's the end goal though? So let's see. I hesitated. All right, we basically be replacing Ceres with you. It will be a temporary bandage at best. It seems worth a try. Sylvie rested her hand on Regis's mane. It will buy us all. It will buy us all time. It will buy us all time at the very least. I examined my bond carefully. Lines of worry creased her brow. Does Arthur refer to Regis as his bond too? Because Regis is basically his bond as well. But he like always refers to Sylvie as like my bond. Like when he says my bond, we know he's talking about Sylvie. But Regis is his bond too. Lines of worry creased her brow and the corners of her lips, and there was a deep set fatigue in her eyes, but her thoughts were clear headed. Sarah shifted slightly, and the disruption of the manna wobbled. Her eyes moved beneath the closed lids. I sighed. We had no time for a lengthy exploration of what was possible. If we were going to do anything to help Sarah to prevent Agrona's forces from piercing this level of the relic tombs, it needed to happen immediately. Tell me again about the fluid battery, I said, and one of the imbuers launched into a repeat of Cyrus' earlier explanation. As they spoke, I watched the particles moving within the horn and the bright liquid. I examined the housing and wiring again, as well as the relationship between the severed Vitrahead and Cyrus's mana. But I also paid careful attention to how the ether moved around this artifact as well because such a condensed amount of mana was suspended within the artifact, very little atmospheric ether existed inside of it. With a thought from me, Regis became immaterial and drifted through the glass and into the rotting head within, casting dim purple light from the empty sockets. That's crazy. Dim purple light from the empty sockets. Um, I kind of like I kind of like how this empty skull doesn't wait. I kind of like how this empty skull doesn't have 7 different counter scenarios and plans intersecting across his thought at any given moment. You know, like a certain someone. Wait, what the fuck? Oh, he's taking a shot at Arthur. I kind of like how this empty skull doesn't have 7 different counter scenarios and plans intersecting across his thoughts at any given moment. You know, like a certain someone. Yeah, this is Regis. Regis complained about this before. He said that whenever he's inside Arthur, I guess he's been like he can clearly tell what he's thinking a lot easier or some shit like that, to where like he's literally getting the thoughts of Arthur thinking about all these different scenarios and this scenario and oh, what if this happens? What if that? And he's like, fucking just make up your mind and make a decision already. So he gets annoyed by that. So that makes sense. Um, yeah, you know, like a certain someone, I dare say, it's almost peaceful. Regis jab. The effect was immediate. More ether was drawn into the battery, flowing into the space not taken up by mana. Releasing ether from my core, I encouraged it toward the device, willing it to displace the mana if necessary. The mana compressed further, allowing more room for the ether. Okay, so the way I'm kind of picturing this is like, I guess with the way that the mana is compressed, it's like compressing like this, right? And it's getting smaller and smaller. So he's saying that it compressed further with the ether, I guess, willing it or some shit like that, into where it made more room for ether to come in because it got smaller. That's kind of how that's kind of how I'm envisioning it at the moment. Um, So yeah, the effect was immediate. More ether was drawn into the battery, flowing into the space not taken up by the mana. Releasing ether from my core, I encouraged it toward the device, willingness to displace the mana if necessary. The mana compressed further, allowing more room for the ether, which was then in turn drawn into the head by Regis's presence. The horn didn't absorb or condense the ether like it did Ceres's mana, but I hadn't expected it to. Basilisk had no natural affinity for ether. So what? So if it was a dragon's horn, then it could have drawn in and compressed the ether like it did the mana. Bring one of the spare projection artifacts and explain the runes to me. One of the imbuers hurried to comply, soon returning with the round blue tinted metal dish. He launched into a precise lecture about the function of the runes and how these differed from the ones currently in use. I was no expert in this matter, but I was the only one present with any insight into ether. Even as I thought this through, I realized it might not be true. Does anyone here have knowledge of the bestowals? They exchanged looks. Then Cyrus said, there were two officiants, I think that's how I said it, officiants, on this level at the time it was taken. They are loyal to Agrona. So they were locked away within the high hall with anyone else who fought against us. The bestowment ceremony requires activation of ether to work. The bestowal ceremony requires activation of ether to work. The artifacts, those artifacts officiants, those artifacts officiants, the artifacts those I'm fucking up my reading. The artifacts those officiants use are what make that possible. Sylvie, go with them and interrogate those men. Use the artifacts, the staff and the bracelet, primarily, to see if you can come up with a rune sequence that will allow these projection devices to utilize ether instead of mana. Of course, Sylvie said with a nod, her wheat blonde hair spilling around the jet black scales of the relic armor. Wait, is she still in the armor? I didn't even think about that. She's still in the armor. She's still in the armor. I literally didn't even think about that. It made me feel more comfortable somehow to know that she was still being protected by it. Sensing my thoughts, she raised a brow and gave me a wry smile and then hurried after the imbuers. I returned my focus to the battery itself. The mechanism was designed to store and release mana with no consideration. So this is like a very like technical chapter where we're getting a lot of explanations on this battery and the mana and the horn and how it all works and shit. Okay. I mean, it's kind of, I guess you got to really kind of pay attention to what the hell you're reading just so it can kind of like make sense or whatever. The mechanism was designed to store and release mana with no consideration to ether. The high density of mana within Orla's horn allowed the battery to create a draw that naturally pulled the mana. I'm reading, but I'm not even comprehending what I'm reading. The high density of mana within Orla's horn allowed the battery to create a draw that naturally pulled the mana along the connected wiring to the rest of the devices. The real question was how, or even if, it was possible to adjust the battery so that it is stored and transmitted ether instead of mana. Yeah, how do you even do that? Like, wouldn't it like change up the composition of the battery? With Regis attracting ether, it already filled all the space between the mana particles, giving the bright blue liquid a lavender hue. Focusing on this loosely stored ether, I pushed it toward the wires and was surprised when some small number of particles caught between the mana particles was pulled along into the rest of the machine. It dissipated upon reaching the mana crystal, but that proved the ether could be transmitted similar to mana. Okay, so we're getting a little bit of progress. Poop crystals, Regis thought suddenly, bringing my thought process to a grinding halt. He's talking about the centipede. The centipede pooped out the crystals, and the crystals were filled with ether. Oh, that makes sense. So the crystals can be filled with ether, and we can use those crystals to house ether and have it be like the liquid, but like liquid ether instead of liquid mana. So of course it's possible. Of course it's possible with the centipede, the giant millipede. The giant millipede. Regis said seriously. The processed ether poop crystals. Some of them were about the same dimensions as these mana crystals. Maybe we can swap them out. Oh, he could go into the portal. He can go back to the place where he got those crystals, come back and bring those crystals with him and try to use those as like a substitute. Okay. Maybe we can swap them out. I looked at Ceres, still sitting silently right in front of me, her mana flowing endlessly into the ritual horn in her gasp. Can you hold on for a bit longer? Yeah, he's gonna go get them. He's about to go get those crystals. That's exactly what he's about to do. Can you hold on for a bit longer? Her head tilted slightly to the side, letting a lock of pearl-colored hair fall across her closed eyes. I wasn't sure if she heard me, but then she nodded. I can hear her mind. I can hear your mind whirling. Go. Do what you need to do. I will be fine. I hesitated, certain that no reasonable person would describe her condition as fine. But I knew what needed to be done, and that meant keeping her in place just a little while longer. Chul, come on, I said, hopping to my feet. Okay, Chul, come in with the brow. Okay. Maybe they're going to do some shit or probably have some conversation or something. I don't know. And we headed out of the plaza. Kara started to stand, but I waved her down. No, Kara, sit down, rest, take a break, recover. You're hurt. Rest, I urged. We won't be going long. We'll start here and the end of the chain and furthest from the source of power and work backwards. The head imbuer. Wait, who is this? We'll start here, the end of the chain and furthest from the source of power and work backwards. So unless nothing happens while he go and get these crystals, we should just skip him getting the crystals and just come back and then resume from that point. Unless something happens while he's going down there with Shul. The head imbuer, a mage of the Ainsworth blood, said for what was probably the 100th time as he instructed the other imbuers. Sylvie had returned from the high hall shortly after Chul, Regis, and I got back from the giant millipede zone. So yeah, we skipped it. Great. Great, great, great. Sylvie and the rest of the imbuers, along with some less than eager assistance from the bestowal artifacts and their art and their from the bestowal officiants, I keep saying that word wrong, and their artifacts, were able to mock up a combination of runes that proved capable of projecting ether with a similar effect as the current mana disruption. I watched as the team quickly dismantled the device to replace the mana crystals and projection artifact. The moment the new equipment was in place, Regis began pushing ether out of the battery. Okay. It traveled along the wires. I'm really trying to understand this technology shit that's going on. It traveled along the wires, dissipating where it reached the other mana crystals, but being absorbed into the newly placed ether crystal. It traveled along the wires, dissipated where it reached the other mana crystals. So yeah, so it dissipated when it reached the regular mana crystals, but it was absorbed when it reached the ether crystals. Nothing happened. The imbuer's faces fell. Cyrus' jaw clenched. Kara was wringing her hands, her face pale, as she looked on nervously. It's about intention. It's about intention, I thought to Regis. Remember, the ether listens to you, responds to your intent. You can't just push it in. You have to guide it. I felt Regis's focus sharpen, extending to the other. That's crazy. So Arthur is literally teaching Regis how to use ether better. He's like, listen, you can't just force it in there. You gotta guide it. Let it know what you want it to do, and then it will respond to your intent. Anyway, I felt Regis' focus sharpen, extending to the ether he had sent into the crystal. A few particles displaced from the crystal, running into the projection artifact. Then a few more. Slowly but surely, a steady trickle, then a stream of ether was flowing until suddenly the device activated. A wave of amethyst light um, distorted the air between the artifact and the portals. It was working. Okay. A collective held breath was released as the imbuers cheered and clapped each other on the back. Cyrus gave me a firm nod, subtly looking 10 years younger. Sarah seemed oblivious, focused on the act of empowering all the other pieces of the disruption array. Well, come on, the Ainsworth imbuer snapped. No time to waste. Let's get the rest of these converted over. One by one, they changed out the original pieces of their design with the new Ether Alliant parts. With each addition, I helped Regis by forcing more of the mana out of the battery. I helped Regis by forcing more of the mana out of the battery and infusing it with my own ether. Wait, he helped Regis by forcing more of the mana out of the. Oh, right. So okay. I get it. I get what's going on. He's forcing the mana out of the battery so that way it has more room to get replaced with ether. That's what's happening. Because they're trying to turn the battery into an ether battery. I helped Regis by forcing more of the mana out of the battery and infusing it with my own ether instead, allowing him to focus on just maintaining the flow. Force more mana out of the battery and infusing the mana with my own ether instead, allow Regis by forcing more of the mana out of the battery and infusing it. Yeah, so he infused the mana with his ether, I guess. More and more people arrived in the plaza as we worked. I recognized a couple of faces such as Sulla of Name Blood Drusus, High Mage of the Ascender's Hall, and surprised me, Caden of High Blood I don't even know how to say this fucking name. Aphelion, the wounded professor. Oh yeah, Caden. I remember Caden. Caden was the guy who served in the war and he lost his arm. He lost his arm. He was also the one that caught Kara and Arthur when they was still in the artifact too. Although he didn't speak about it, or he might have caught it, but he didn't. He maybe saw him jump with Ether or something like that. That's crazy. I bet Caden's got a lot of questions. The wounded professor I had taught along at Central Academy. Caden gave me a jaunt wave from the outskirts of the plaza where he lingered with feigned disinterest. Many others were clearly ranking high bloods or ascenders as well. It was where am I? It was technically an arduous process, and time ticked by slowly as the imbuers labored. Altogether, it took hours before the last projection artifact was finally in place. The last crystal was changed, and all the mana was pushed out of the battery, leaving room for a significant deposit of ether. Okay, so what's next? Although I'd done little throughout, keeping Realm Heart active for so long was taxing. Although I'd done little throughout, keeping Realm Heart. Yeah, he never talked about like how much ether does it take to keep Realm Heart active. When he fights, it doesn't seem like it matters that much. Actually, you know what I'm gonna say? So there's a point that I want to make too, because I've been rereading the chapter, and I think the part that I'm on is I reread book 10, or I read book 10, I guess I would say. And so the part that I'm on was when what was it? When he killed the wraiths, and then after he killed the wraiths, he had the conversation with my guy, Virion. He had a conversation with Virion. They were like doing their manly, cry and shit like that. That shit was great. Um, and then I remember when he went and freed, everybody from like Black Ben and Cyrus Academy or Zyrus Academy or whatever. And anyway, the point that I'm trying to make, I'm getting all long-winded and shit. The point that I'm trying to make was that shit, what the fuck? Oh, Remhart. Um, it seems to me during the fight with the Wraiths, right? We know that he not only uses ether, but he also has his own stamina, right? When he fights, and his stamina got sapped and drawn all out or whatever. Back when he was like in that like poison little, you know what I'm talking about, the little poison thing that he was in when he was fighting the Wraiths, and like it sapped all his energy and his stamina and shit. So after that fight, remember when he used the destruction rune, and he has such an abundance of mana after making that third layer, or not third, his second layer to his core, that he had more ether remaining than he had energy or stamina. And so he literally that's why he had to go to the one place in the portal, whatever, and like expunge all his ether out and have it destroy that area that was, in Alacrity or whatever the fuck it was, because he has so much more ether left over. So my point that I'm trying to make is that he has such a high abundance of ether that he doesn't really have to worry about running out of ether. All he has to really worry about is running out of stamina at this point. He runs out of stamina then before he runs out of ether. So him running out of ether is not a problem. That's basically what I'm trying to say. And the Realm Heart thing, I think that the Realm Heart is taxing, not only because it uses his ether, which he has an abundance of, but I think it probably saps his energy and his fatigue. So that's kind of what I think is what's like keeping him from being like super crazy overpowered, because he has an abundance of ether, but he can run out of stamina because of his body. Because of his body. So that was kind of a little long-winded, but that's what I was trying to say. Where am I at? Okay, although I'd done little throughout, keeping Realm Heart active for so long was taxing. It did not require a significant amount of ether to do so, but it was similar to keeping a muscle flex for hours on end, and a dull headache was burning at the corners of my eyes. It was with a feeling of relief that I released the God room, feeling the energy burnt up from under my skin in the shapes of runes dissipating. Burning, yeah. At the same time, the visible motes of mana painting the zone in reds, yellow, greens, and blues faded away to nothing. But something was different. I rubbed at my sternum, feeling a tension there that I couldn't immediately identify. Worried that I strained myself, I looked around at everyone else. Cyrus' fist was wrapped firmly around Sarah's forearm, and he was easing her hand out of the battery tank, allowing the imbuers to seal it back up. At first, Sarah's mana kept flowing in an uninterrupted loop, spilling out into the atmosphere with no effect. Whoa, what the fuck? At first, Sarah's mana kept flowing in and out. Wait, flowing in an uninterrupted loop, spilling out into the atmosphere. So even as her hand is coming out of it, she's like so used to imbuing mana in there that it's like just spilling into the air or into the atmosphere. That's kind of crazy. At first, yeah. Spilling onto the atmosphere with no effect. Slowly, her eyes fluttered open, and she looked up, confused, into Cyrus' face. It's all right. You held, you held long enough. Let go. The flow of mana abated, and Sarah stared at her hand, which seemed to be struggling to unclench. Her mana, I realized with a start. Despite no longer channeling realm heart, I could still sense her mana. What the fuck is this? No way. No way. I wasn't expecting this. So this is what he was talking about? This is what's different? Let me go back. So at the same time, the visible motes of mana painting the zones in reds, yellows, greens, and blues faded away to nothing. But something was different. I rubbed at my sternum, feeling a tension there that I couldn't immediately identify. He felt something was different. It's all right. You held long enough. Let go. The flow of mana abated, and Sarah stared at her hand, which seemed to be struggling to unclench. Her mana, I realized with a start. Despite no longer channeling Realm Heart, I could still sense her mana. My insight into the God room. This is crazy. Wow. So he might okay, so okay, he probably won't be able to he probably won't be able to do everything he can do with the God room active, but just maybe small things. Like I don't know. Could he potentially just be able to naturally see mana without having the God room active? Or is it just going to go as far as just him being able to sense mana? I can still sense her mana. My insight into the God room, which represented the relationship between ether and mana, had advanced without my even realizing it. I bit back a grin and closed my eyes, just feeling the mana signatures of everyone around me. So he can like clearly feel the mana signatures. Like it's not like fade, it's not like a faded mana signature or not as strong or anything like that. Like he can clearly sense the mana signatures around him. Wow. 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 And Realm Heart is a Vivim form of ether. Okay. 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 This is interesting. I bit back a grin and closed my eyes and feeling the mana signatures of everyone around me. Yeah, Billy, I think passive God rune effects. Yeah, I think so. I think so. I mean, I'm guessing. I guess it goes back to insight. So it might not be a passive. I don't know because let's think about this. He doesn't use a God rune to form a sword, which he uses. He uses his God rune for destruction, but we haven't felt him get any more insight into destruction, even though he's used it quite a few times. But I mean, I guess you can also say God Step. He's probably used God Step more than any other rune. And so, but he had to train with God Step in order to get better at it. Which training just meant like not necessarily using it over and over again, but like more focusing on like the paths that he sees when he's activating the rune, but not actually going into the paths. So I guess it could be considered the same thing. You're activating the rune and you're using it, and then you're just kind of getting better and better and getting more insight just by using it and focusing and other things like that. So I guess him using Realm Heart actively. So this, you know what this means? He needs to be actively using Realm Heart. It's like a muscle. He literally just said it's like flexing a muscle, right? What do we know about rebuilding muscle? You got to tear the muscles and actively use it, break it down, blah, blah. So maybe that's the same thing with Realm Heart, where you have to just constantly be using it and building it up, making it stronger and stronger, and then he gets like more insight or some shit like that. That's what I'm theorizing. Anyway, just feeling the mana signatures and everyone around me. Did it work? Wait, where am I at? Fuck. Did it work? Sarah's asked, snapping me back into the moment. No one can answer yet. Together we waited with breathless uncertainty. So I wonder how much of an effect this is going to have on Regis. Is it going to be easier for Regis than it was for Ceres, or is it going to be harder for Regis than it was for Ceres? Or will Arthur have to like constantly supply it with more and more ether or some shit like that, because he's going to run out of atmospheric ether and have to start using his own ether, which he has a fucking ocean-wide sun levels of ether now? Like, the motherfucker went from like a pond of ether to a big ass lake of ether to now this motherfucker got an ocean of ether now. So, you know, and this is another theory that I have too when it comes to like him potentially making a fourth core. I don't think that we're gonna get. I honestly don't think that is even necessary to even get a fourth layer of ether around this core, because of the fact that he already has such an abundance amount of ether that he can't even use it all up. He has so much. He has so much ether just with the second core or the second layer that he didn't use it all up, right? So for a third layer, he's definitely not going to use that shit up. So for one, I don't think there's even going to be necessary to even have a fourth layer unless he starts to get more advanced ether techniques that uses more ether in order to use something like that. Like, unless like something like that happens to where his techniques get more advanced to where it requires a lot more ether, unless that happens, which I don't really see that happening, because so far all the runes that he has, it doesn't require a whole lot of ether. Like even destruction, yeah, he uses ether, but it doesn't like require a whole lot of it. Like he can force it to take a whole lot more, but it doesn't really need a whole lot of its ether in order for it to work properly. So that's one reason why I don't think it's going to get a fourth layer. The second reason I don't think he's going to get a fourth layer is because of how long it took for him to make the third layer. Like it took him potentially 2 months to make a third layer. And if you just compare the third layer to if you compare the third layer to the second layer, I mean, it took him how long to make that second layer? Like, it took him like what, a few hours? He was in the Relic Tombs and he made that second layer. It took a few hours, and then he went from a few hours to months, right? So, what do you think? How long do you think it will take for him to make a fourth layer? Years. It will take years. So, I don't think that's going to happen. That's why. That's my theory on that. So, so that's what I think about that. Together we worked with breathless uncertainty. Even to the naked eye, the ripples of the air and the portal surfaces were clear beneath a dim purple glow. But it wasn't until a couple minutes later, when an Alacrian soldier appeared briefly in one of the portals before vanishing again, that we all truly relaxed. It worked, I confirmed. Okay, so this is solved. Cool. What now? I want to know what the plan is now. What you saying, Billy Bob? Fate abilities will probably cost large sums of ether, so he might need another layer. Maybe, potentially. But like I said, I think it would take years for him to make another layer, and that doesn't logically make sense as far as like for time purposes. It wasn't hours though. Remember, he missed like 2 days of class. Oh yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah, you're right. because he was gone for 2 days, and then he came back exhausted with barely enough ether to be able to. Okay, yeah. So yeah, so even still, it went from days to months, and now the next one's gonna be years. So that's the only thing that's logical. And the Relatoon's time is slow. Yeah, and it took that long with the Relatoon's times being slow. So it's even more fucking long. It's even longer than that. So it's even crazy. Anyway, it worked. Cheer went up, and the imbuers and the attendants may just collapse into back padding and embraces all around us. How does it feel in there? I assume you're not talking about this rotting skull, Regis shot back, sounding in a good humor. Seriously, though, I've always wanted to be the little engine that could. Fucking Regis, bruh. The little engine that could, man. What the fuck? Sylvie snorted, her brows raised nearly to her hairline. You find the strangest details in Arthur's old Earth memories. Hey, strange details. It's going to be the name of my memoir. Regis' laughter rang in my head as I turned away with a groan. I need to take Cyrus somewhere she can rest, Cyrus said, her arm laced through his for support. We will convene when. No. Oh, shit. Cyrus is like, no, motherfucker. We have a lot to do. This is just a small hiccup. I have more plans. There's no time for rest. If Ellie wakes up, she could probably give her some mana and have her recover a little bit faster. Although, yeah, because she gave Kara mana. So yeah, so it wouldn't matter whether or not she's virtual blood or not. That wouldn't affect anything. No, Sarah said firmly. Yeah. No, Sarah said firmly. He started to object, but she cut him off again. I will recover as we walk. Come, Arthur. Gather your companions. Oh shit. Oh shit. Where are we going? She looked around, caught sight of Sulla, and gestured for him to approach. Unbidden, a couple of other men came with him. Sulla, Harlow, send men to collect the High Lords. Wait, are they there with her? Yeah, right. Isn't fucking Kara's family there? Isn't the fuck is her adoptive dad name is? I know his name. Denwar Tennant. No, Tennant. No. Shit, I forget his name. But yeah, so they're all there. Because Kara's family went into she talked about it, went into a split. His brother on one end with supporting the Agrona and shit, and then his her adoptive dad and Lenore. I think that's her adoptive mother name is. Yeah. On the other end. So anyway, okay, cool. We'll recover as we walk. Gather your companions. All right. Collect the High Lords, matrons, and other ranking blood members. Have them gather at the Dread Craven within an hour. Chul helped Ellie and Kara to stand and mount Boo, and they fell in behind me while Sylvie stayed at my side. A number of guards broke off from those stationed around the plaza and marched to either side of our party, while several others followed us out of the plaza as well. As we approached the boulevard that ran lengthwise across the zone, I realized that a large number of people were being held back by more guards. I stopped walking, my body going rigid. What the hell are they doing here? I asked, feeling my cheeks flushed with anger. Professor! Mayla's there. Mayla, Melview. What the fuck is his name? I always forget his name. Not Curtis. It's not Curtis Melview. What the fuck is it? His crush. I can't think of his fucking name always. Seth, thank you. I always forget his fucking name. His name is just so forgettable for me. It's so forgettable for me. Yeah, so his crush, Mayla, she's there. Mayla jumped up and down, waving her arms to catch my attention. Hey, Professor Gray! Next to Mayla, Seth of High Blood. It's literally right there. I'm fucking dumb. I could have just kept reading. Seth of High Blood Melview rubbed his neck and smiled awkwardly. looking increasingly embarrassed. That's crazy. Everybody's there, man. That's so cool though. That's cool as shit. So everybody's there. They're like, Professor Gray, like, yeah, you know, down with the Vritra. You know, I don't fucking know. They probably just crazy. Um, Professor Gray, yeah. So Seth rubbed his neck, looking awkward, looking increasingly. Are they like together now? I wonder if they're like together now. I wonder if they're like legit like dating. Like that's cool. Congratulations to Seth. If they're dating. Sarah turned stiffly to acknowledge me. Forgive me, Arthur. They were intended to be a research project of sorts. A research project? Oh, maybe it's like a research project because she kind of knows that the people that Arthur was around, they got stronger bestowals. So maybe he was like she was researching being around his former students. Maybe that's what she was talking about. That's probably what she's talking about. Um, they were intended to be a research project of sorts. My fist clenched and unclenched at my sides. You endangered these kids' lives for I cut myself. I cut myself off. Full understanding dawning. See, look, and this is the part where Sylvie is so good for Arthur because like when he having these emotional flares, because that's what Arthur is, man. He's very emotional. He's very he does it. He's got better at controlling his emotions for sure. But like you still have those occasions where these emotions flares and either Sylvie brings him back to normal and logical thinking, or he realizes himself, which is in this situation. So he started to understand exactly the minute that he was about to say something. He's like, okay, I understand. You endangered these kids' lives for I cut myself off. Full understanding dawning. You wanted to know why their wounds were so strong. Smart. Sarah's only nodded before turning away, and Cyrus continued walking. I broke ranks and hurried over to where a couple of ascenders were holding back the pair of teenagers. Mela was grinning wildly, but Seth looked nervous. Professor Gray, you're back. Mela, Mela gushed, looking like she wanted to rush up and hug me. So man, that's cool though because like you got Mela, you got Seth, and then you also had Enola. Enola was like Enola ended up winning the tournament. I don't know if y'all remember. Enola ended up winning the tournament and shit. So Enola from Blood, like Frost or some shit like that, she's strong as shit. And then you also got the one dude who got like another I think he got another emblem, and he said that he didn't know whether or not he wanted to follow in his family's footsteps, and he kind of wanted to do what he wanted to do. He's like a high blood or some shit like that, and he was like the leader of the group of people that was bullying Seth and shit. I forget his name. But anyway, I wonder if he's gonna be there or some shit like that. Like that's cool to see them back. That's cool. Like they're not afraid of him. They're not like, thinking he betrayed Alacrity or anything like that. They're literally like just thinking, just excited to see him. And Seth is probably just nervous just because he remembered like how he felt like he hated him and he didn't really know why and stuff. This is cool. I like this. I can't speak. So yeah. So giving them a small smile. Oh wait. I missed it. Oh, you're back. Everyone. Yeah, you're back. You're rushing up to give a hug. Everyone had been talking about you ever since you left. Some of the other students thought you disappeared forever, but who the fuck? Lorne was so sure you'd be back, and so was Scythe Sarah's Vritra. Mela trailed off. Her attention sliding to where Sarah had yet again stopped and was now watching my conversation. Seth, Mela, it's good to see you both, I said, giving them a small smile that I knew lacked any true warmth. I can't speak now, but when I have a moment, perhaps you two can help me understand. Maybe you can help us understand something, Professor. Wait, maybe you can help us understand something, Professor, Seth said suddenly. Oh shit! Seth, he coming in. He ain't scared no more. He like, whoa, while you're here, maybe you can help us understand something. Are you an enemy of the Vritra? Maybe you can help us understand something, Professor, Seth said suddenly, cutting over me. His face was pale, and he was staring past me, not meeting my eye. Who are you? What Why did you do this to us? Get us into this. He shook his head and trailed off, looking like he might be sick. So it took him so much courage and confidence to even just say that shit. He probably felt like, oh my God, he might kill me if I even say this shit. I hesitated to answer. I didn't want to leave them feeling like everything that had happened to them was without reason. But I didn't have time to tell them the truth in the right way. I'll explain what I can later. Where are you staying? Glancing between me and Seth, Mila gave me directions to the mansion of the high blood that had taken them in. See you soon, she asked. See you soon? She asked, the words almost pleading. As soon as I can. I returned to the others under Sarah's curious gaze, but she said nothing. And we began marching along again. The ascenders moved the crowd out of our way, and our guards kept everyone well back. I wasn't heedless of the shouts that followed. This is a long ass chapter. Is it just me? I feel like this chapter is long as hell. Like I'm like waiting for it to end, and I'm just like, okay, it's not ending yet. I returned to the others under Sarah's curious gaze, but she said nothing, and we began marching along again. The ascenders moved the crowds out of our way, and our own guards kept everyone back. I wasn't heedless of the shouts that followed us, some pleading, others resentful. Listen, while you guys are in here, I appreciate the likes and everything. Let me know if you want to be part of the chat to to have a conversation about the chapters and stuff like that in the Discord. Like, let me know because I'm not sure who all wants to come, and I'm gonna try to do. I'm gonna do a discussion either later today. It might be like really late today. I'm not sure how late you guys be up, but it might be tomorrow. It might end up being tomorrow. But just let me know. Like leave a comment or something. Just let me know if you want to be part of the discussion because we can definitely have some conversations and talk about a whole lot of shit. What was I gonna say? Okay. I wasn't heedless of the shouts. Oh yeah, I wasn't heedless of the shouts that followed us. Some pleading, others resentful and accusatory. But I was too on edge to give any of it much thought. Our victory, that's crazy. He can sense people's mana signatures now. Just a small little thing, but that's cool shit. Where am I at? Descenders moved the crowd out of our way. I keep forgetting where I'm at, man. Our victory with the portal disruptor. We still don't even know how is it feeling to Regis. The Regis seem to be cool, so I guess it's just cool. It's just chill. That Regis just kind of just chilling. Our victory with the portal disruptor had already seemed to be a distant memory, as the weight of the problem still fit. Exactly. I'm just like, okay, that's one problem taken care of, but what about what y'all doing now, though? Because y'all can't stay there forever. Like a distant memory is the weight of our problem still facing these people who settled heavily across my shoulders. Cyrus and Sarah's led us to a 3-story building that overlooked a small street. That's crazy, man. Like Arthur's like the strongest motherfucker there. Like, that's just so crazy to just think about. Like, Arthur's literally the strongest motherfucker in the building. And he got to worry about all this shit. Our victory with the portal disruptor already seemed like a distant memory. Cyrus and others led to a 3-story building that overlooked a small street several blocks from the high hall, which loomed in the distance. I was surprised by the location and the construction of the building. I wasn't sure what I had been expecting, but this wasn't it. A sign depicting a split face, one half bright white and twisted into a cartoonish grimace of terror, the other pitch black and screaming a battle cry, marked the building as the Dread Craven. Cavern. Craven. That's Craven. Constructed mostly of dark stone and wood, it reminded me of many inns I've seen throughout both Alacria and Dakafan. 4 mages guarded the door, which they opened as we approached. But a lack of surprise on their faces, word had already reached them about Sarah's arrival. Okay. This chapter's still not over, man. Damn. I mean, I'm not complaining. This is great, but like, I'm just saying, like, this is cool. I didn't think that we were gonna get like a second part to where we like get to have some discussions and shit. I thought that like once they got the device working, then that'll be the end of the chapter, and we'll have to wait for the next chapter. By the lack of surprise, their faces were already reached them about Sarah's arrival. Not quite how I imagined you living, Kara said under her breath, having dismounted from Boo and limped in after me and Sylvie. Sarah's turned, her face slack, like someone just woken from a deep sleep. No, I suppose not. The previous owner attempted to fight his way out of the first day after we arrived, leading a number of his high bloods and employees to their unfortunate demise. Since his building was then vacant, I decided it would be a suitable base of operations. Cyrus cracked a smile. Besides, she enjoys dragging the high bloods all the way across the zone into the low part of town. Hush, Sarah answered, waving her hand dismissively at her retainer. And perhaps fetch me a drink. Cyrus nodded and headed toward the bar, running half the length of the back wall. We were standing in a wide open tavern room, standard except that all the rectangular tables had been pushed together in the center. It was unusually clean for an inn or bar, and the walls were barren, all the decorations having been taken down at some point. The lower windows had all been barricaded over by an earth attribute mage, and the walls reinforced in places to provide a more defensible base. A door behind the bar led to some back room, and a set of stairs dominated the left side of the open tavern. A couple of people, members of Sarah's staff, I assumed, peeked down the stairs briefly, their faces alight with a pleasant surprise, but they vanished just as quickly as Sarah shot them a meaningful glance. Sarah's movement was slow and calculated as she moved to a plush chair at the end of the pushed together tables and eased into it with a groan. Have you guys ever just like read one of these long ass chapters out loud? Like it's draining. It really is draining. Like I see like, King of Lightning or other people, whoever be reading like One Piece chapters or whatever, but it's not nearly as many words. You're not literally thinking as much, trying to concentrate on what the fuck you're reading. But when you're reading like a chapter to a book or a novel and shit like that, it is a lot of words, a lot of reading. I'm just saying. So you guys got to give me some props for reading this shit. Because I don't even know anybody else that's doing the same thing that I'm doing anyway. But Sarah's moving was slow and calculated as she moved. Wait, did I skip something? Okay, yeah. Sarah's movement was slow and calculated as she moved to a plush chair at the end of the pushed together tables and eased into it with a groan. She waited for the rest of us to join her. At the door, Ellie scratched Boo. Oh wait, so also everybody's with them. So Ellie, Boo, Chul, Kara, his whole entourage. Ellie scratched Boo between his eyes and told him to wait outside. I sat on Sarah's left. Okay, I sat on Sarah's left. So he's sitting next to Sarah's. I wonder if it's like a display of like power type of thing. While Kara took the chair to her right. Okay. Her right hand man. Well, her right hand girl, and then her left hand man. I guess I mean. Nervousness rolled off Ellie in waves as she sat stiffly next to me. Sylvie, on the other hand, squeezed her forearm gently. Look at Sylvie, man. Always being so motherly. Chul stood. Like, of course, motherfucking Chul stood. Chul, I don't need you chairs. I'm comfortable standing because I'm an Asura or some shit. That literally fits Chul. Like, oh yeah, he's standing. Yeah, he's just standing, arms crossed, with a glare or some shit. Lacrians got me in here listening to you motherfuckers playing and shit. He stood leaning against an upright post with his arms crossed. I literally said arms crossed. Um, Cyrus appeared from behind the bar and set a plain glass full of golden liquid in front of her. Are you sure you wouldn't rather go rest for a few hours or days before we? He quieted at a look from Cyrus. They said nothing more to each other, but Cyrus stayed beside her. He is so overprotective, bro. How did their relationship come to be? Come on, Turtle Me. Give us some insight into the relationship, man. One hand on the back of her chair, his expression hard enough to crack the end stone foundations. Cyrus took a small drink, let out a deep, shaky breath, and set the glass back on the table. So, here I am, I said, deciding to speak first to break the tension. You took a big risk both in sending Kara to Dicathin and with this gambit in the relic tombs. I might not have come. That's what I'm saying. Like, how could Kara or how could Sarah be unless she like knew he would come? The same way that she knew that he was going to be important, which is why she saved his life with Uto and gave him the horns and shit like that. Like maybe it's just like one of those things. Um So let me read this. So here I am, I said, deciding to speak first to break the tension. You took a big risk, both in sending Kara to Dicathin and with the Gambit and the Relatunes. I might not have come. And nearly imperceptible frown line creased the smooth skin of her between her brows. I'll thank you, of all people, not to lecture me on taking risks, Arthur Lewin. See, this is when you get into like I didn't even notice it until she said something, but like you can't be so goddamn hypocritical, man. Like Arthur himself said from his own mouth, he won't be able to advance in understanding ether without taking risks. Like it was a risk in staying into the relic tombs in the ether realm to make his third core. That was a huge risk. It was a risk going and meeting up with not Agrona, Kezis. You know, Kezis could have killed him. You know, so it was a risk doing that. What else was a risk? Fucking everything he did in the Relatunes, that was a risk. It was a risk what he did with challenging Cadell and fighting him, and then Agrona showing up and him being able to escape. That was a huge ass risk. What if he wasn't able to escape? What if Agrona had some technology to prevent him from using his runes and he wasn't able to escape? And then now he's captured by Agrona and he's been poked and prodded and tested, and now Agrona understands ether better, and now Agrona takes over the whole world. You know what I'm saying? Like, fuck, it's a lot of risk. Anyways, I digress. I'll thank you, of all people, not to lecture me on taking risks, Arthur Lewin. I raised my hands off the table in a gesture of warning. Point taken. But really, Ceres, what is all this about? Why did you send for me? A moment, she said, sagging under the weight of her fatigue. The others will be here soon, and I've only the strength to have this conversation once. She took another small sip of her drink, her attention lingering on my sister. She's interested in Eleanor. Eleanor, yes? Uncommon talent and bravery runs in your blood, I see. Uncommon talent, absolutely. Bravery, absolutely. Ellie flushed and stared at her hands, which were clasped together on top of the table in front of her. I don't know about that, Scythe says. Please, call me Ceres. My name is a Scythe and General of Alacrity is past, I think. You know what this reminds me of? I'm reading Mistborn. It reminds me of fuck, what's his name? How did I forget his name already? You got then and the keeper. The keeper. He was like, he always says I think all the time. So it doesn't make me think about him. Anyway, my time as a Scythe and a General of Alacrity is past, I think. She gave me a rueful smile. A rueful smile. And this must be Lady Sylvie Indrath. Uh-oh, she ain't Indrath no more, bruh. Cadell thought you succumbed to your wounds in Dicathlon after your battle. Like mother, like daughter, he said. A cold one, that Cadell. Colder now, of course. Sylvie raised her chin, her face framed by one. Wait. She raised her chin, her face framed by the two sets of horns. The gold of her eyes was molten, even in the bright lights of the inn's interior. You seem to be quite well informed, Lady Ceres. Ceres' face darkened, her focus momentarily far away. That has always been my strength, of course. Her gaze lingered on Sylvie for a moment before drifting to Chul. And who is this hunking figure behind you? To look at him, I will almost think her eyes narrowed. She inspected him more closely. Of a Soren lineage? Phoenix, even? Chul's jaw hardened. Did you have a great deal of experience with the members of my race locked in your master's dungeons? He got some gripes. Did you have a great deal of experience with the members of my race locked in your master's dungeons? How much of a hand did you have in their questioning and torture? Perhaps you were even there when my mother, the great Lady Dawn of the Escipius, I fucking always forget this fucking name. The Escipius, the Asclepius, it's not an L in there. This Asclepius, whatever. was butchered in her cell. Suppressed a groan. Suppressing a groan, I leaned in. Although Chul's standoffishness was justified, it didn't serve us in the moment. We're all friends here, remember? Sarah's wasn't put off by his attitude, however. In fact, she gave him a sad smile, and some of the tension bled out of her. Of course, I understand now. Forgive me. I was aware of your mother, even saw her briefly once or twice, but I never met her properly. Your people, the hidden followers of the Lost Prince, are a bit of a curiosity in Tigran Kalen. Almost mythical, really. Her attention returned to me. So, you really have been busy these last couple months, haven't you? Turning only her head. She met Kara's eyes. And what of you then? Off Gavilan Gav bleh, Gavilan Gav Galan let me say Galan what the fuck is this word? I know how to say this. I'm just English language, English is not my first language. My first original language is English. There are no definitions. Um, that was a joke, by the way. I just hate the English language. That's all. Gallivanting. That's what. See, I just need to read it slow. Gallivanting with Arthur on his adventures. Heedless of, she cut off suddenly as she really looked at Kara. No, I can see that's not the case. Kara chewed the inside of her cheek for a couple long seconds before providing a brief explanation of her imprisonment. First at the gentle hands of the Dicathians, and then much less comfortable among the dragons. So, war with the dragons really has come, Sarah's mused under her breath, staring down into the alcohol as if it were a crystal ball, and she was trying to divine the meaning of these events. Her her rever- her reverie was interrupted. I think that's what I said. Was interrupted by a knock at the door. Snapping out of her thoughts, she forced a welcoming smile. I want to hear the conversations, man. Like, man, I have a feeling it's about to be over, and I want to hear the conversations. Snapping out of her thoughts, she forced a welcoming smile onto her tired face. Well, it would appear they have started to arrive. Brace yourselves. The door opened and two familiar figures filled it. Corbett, yes, that's his name, Corbett, and Lenora Denoir. Lady Lenora froze, staring at the horns atop Kara's head. Oh shit, that's right. They don't even know she. Oh wow, wow, wow. I forgot about. Damn, they gonna be so pissed. They gonna be so pissed. They gonna be like, "What the fuck? You got your horns?" But it doesn't change anything though because they've already went against Agrona, so it really doesn't matter anymore. Um, that's crazy. That's so crazy. That's so crazy, man. This chapter is 10 out of 10, man. This chapter is 10 out of 10. That's so crazy. Um, Staring at the horns atop Kara's head, but only for a second. She quickly broke with decorum and hurried to Kara. Caught off guard, Kara didn't even stand as Lenora leaned down over her, brushing a hand down her cheek and glancing from one bandaged wound to the next, looking increasingly pained. Oh, Kara, what's happened to you? She breathed. Her eyes jumped to the horns, then back to Kara's bandage, and it wasn't entirely sure which she was referring or referencing. I could sense Kara's discomfort as she gazed up at her adoptive mother, jaw slack. I'm fine, she said belatedly. Corbett passed the two women, sparing Kara only the briefest glance, and instead approached Sarah. He bowed deeply, his eyes on the floor. She acknowledged him by name, and he stood and turned back to Kara. Lawden said you were gravely wounded. I am glad to see his estimation of your poor health was exaggerated. Kara hesitated, then muttered only thanks. Unlike his wife, Corbett was staring unabashedly at the horns plainly visible on Kara's head. Siph Saris was kind enough to inform us of your situation as well. So wait, did Sarah say like she just recently awakened her ritual blood or some shit like that, trying to cover for her? And a good thing too. I can't pretend not to be shocked to see it, even though The door opened again, revealing a man with a well-trimmed blonde hair and a bushy goatee. Corbett cleared his throat. Lenora took the seat next to Kara, and he sat beside her. High Lord Frost. That's what's her name? Shit. All these names, they got me confused. I literally said her name earlier today. She's on the Frostblood. She was one of Arthur's students. Um, she won the Victoria. Yanola. That's her fucking name. Yeah, Yanola. Yeah, some shit like that. Anyway, um, I think is that her dad or her grandfather or some shit like that? I forget. Sarah's welcome the man. Please take a seat. The man's severe gray eyes lingered on me for several seconds before he entered the tavern. So the famed Ascender Gray has returned. Hopefully, this means I haven't doomed my blood to a slow death by starvation under this fox sky. After all, Cyrus softly cleared his throat. When he spoke, his words were equally soft, but the sharp edge in them glinted like a razor. Have a seat. Uriel? High Lord Frost hesitated only a second before taking a seat at the end of the table opposite Sarah's. Next in was a younger man, dark-haired and barrel-chested, that it took me a few moments to recognize. He stood in the doorway and stared at me, his eyes growing misty. Lord Umbuder, Sarah's announced. I took notes of everybody that was in that meeting with Kara back at the tavern or whatever. I don't have it right now, but it's crazy. I did. This has been either I'm just taking a long time. Yeah, Enola. I say Enola. Yeah, Enola. That's right. Either I'm taking a long time to read this, or this chapter is long as fuck. I don't know. I don't know which one it is. Suddenly he was moving quickly around the table toward me. Ellie tensed, and I gathered ether into my fist, prepared to defend. Wait, what? Suddenly he was moving quickly around the table toward me. Ellie tensed, and I gathered ether into my fist, prepared to defend myself or her if necessary. Bruh, ain't nobody. You think he about to attack you, the famed Ascender? He's probably coming up to like give you a hug or a fucking handshake or some shit. But he jerked to a stop several feet away from us, and then went to a knee, tears dripping from his downturned eyes. Lance, Arthur, Lewin, thank you. Wait, who is this again? Lord Umbuder? Wait, maybe it's because he didn't kill everybody in Catherine. Maybe that's the reason why. Maybe he had his son there or some shit like that. Lance Arthur Lewin, thank you. I suddenly remember him. He'd been one of the High Bloods given authority over Zyrus. Yeah, he didn't kill everybody. This man, along with most of the others, have been happy to let Augustine do all their talking and threatening for him. Before I could say anything, he kept talking. Even though you had every reason to kill me, you didn't. And yet, here in Alacria, my brother was slaughtered by one of our own retainers without hesitation. Damn. That was everything I needed to understand about this war. Swallowing heavily, he stood and took a seat halfway between Ellie and Uriel. Uriel? Anyway, I watched the young man for several long moments, but he kept his eyes, now dry again, firmly forward. Then another individual entered, and she gave me a pause. It was the short horns protruding from her. Oh wait, this got to be Kara's friend that awakened. That must be her. That's what I'm thinking. I'm just taking a guess. This is a woman, and she got horns. The short horns protruding from her forehead that caught me most clearly by surprise. Shiny blue-black hair was pulled into a tight tail over the horns, dark against her pale skin. Her wine-colored eyes settled immediately on Kara. Yes, definitely her. Matron Tremblay. And she let out a relieved breath. Sarah's announced her as Matron Tremblay, and she took a seat next to Corbett after spending several very long seconds ogling Kara's horns. Yeah, because she didn't even know that she had her horns too. She's probably going to assume that she was hiding them. That's probably her first thought is going to be, "Oh, you were hiding them, bitches." Over the last several minutes, okay, it's finally over. God damn. Over the last to enter, over the next several minutes, Various high bloods, matrons, and high-ranking ascenders arrived in a steady stream to fill up our table. A few, like Sulla, stood to make room for those of higher station than themselves. Some of the names I knew, but most meant nothing to me. The last to enter was another surprise, as I once again saw Caden of high blood, whatever the fuck his name is, limp through the door, and after it had closed. Ceres regarded the man with a mild surprise. Ah, Lord Aphelion, whatever the fuck, welcome. Caden waved with his signature brand of carelessness and headed straight for the bar, away from the tension building up for those around us. The shrewd and prospective gazes of the high bloods were glued to Ceres and me, their anticipation palpable as they waited for us to speak. Ceres met my eye. I gave her a small nod. She cleared her throat. Now that everyone is present, let us begin. Oh shit, man. That's crazy. So now the next chapter, like this chapter's 10 out of 10. This chapter's 10 out of 10. But the next chapter is gonna be even crazier when they talk about the plans and the schemes and all the shit that they got cooking up, man. That's so dope. That's so dope. That's dope, man. That's so crazy. Anyway, what did you guys think about this chapter? What did you guys think about the chapter? This chapter was hype. This chapter was hype. This chapter was hype. Like I didn't think that we were going to get so much of the chapter with them like introducing each other, them all walking in and like, oh yeah, here's who's coming. Here's who's coming. We get a reunion with Mela and Seth. There's that Cadence there. They found out that Kara's got the horns. Regis is now taking Ceres' place and he's keeping the portal secure and everything. Man. I'm excited, man. I'm excited about next chapter. That's crazy. That's crazy. But let me see what you guys are saying, if anything at all. So yeah, so strategists, you want to be part of the conversation? Yeah. So listen. This is a really good chapter. We can talk about this chapter in the Discord. So here's what I'm going to do. It's either going to be later today or tomorrow. That I think the link. So I'm still learning about Discord and shit like that. So I'm still like learning a little bit. I've been watching some videos and stuff, but I think that link expires in a little bit. So I'm gonna drop another link, and I don't know. I might make a post and see what time I kind of want to do like a discussion, and we can kind of all just sit and talk and chat and shit. I think it'd be chill, and we can just talk about the chapter. Talk about T-Bait or whatever you guys got to say. I think that'd be cool. And I'll make a post. So look out for a post. I don't know if you guys get alerts, if you got the notification turned on or not. I don't know if you get alerts about the post or whatever, but I'll make a post on what time I'll be in the Discord, and then we can kind of just chat or whatever. And it either be later today or tomorrow. So I'll let you guys know ahead of time. Probably like maybe a couple hours in advance. But this chapter was dope. And I appreciate you guys all joining in. And so let me just try to summarize this just a little bit. So the things that surprised me. So Arthur, he can now sense people's mana signatures. So that's cool as shit. Regis is taking Ceres' place. So that's cool. And then we get reunion with Mela and Seth. And then we found out that Caden's there. And then we got Corbett and his wife is there. And then they found out that Kara is she awakened her Reacher blood. But then I'm surprised that Adola was like just still like, so like I guess nurturing and not really like paying too much attention to her horns and more so caring about her wounds and stuff. And then obviously Corbett, he's like fucking been having your fucking horns, all this bullshit. But I want to know what did Ceres tell them? Did Ceres tell them that she just recently awakened and got her horns or got her awakened her blood? Or did she tell them that she's been keeping it a secret because of, all this shit with the Corona? So there's that. Ceres finally gets a formal introduction to Sylvie and Chul. Um, I'm ready for the schemes, man. I'm ready for the schemes. I guess we can also talk about too, like what we think that they're going to do as far as like what the plan might be, because the high bloods are needed. The high bloods are needed in whatever this plan is, because otherwise she wouldn't have put forth so much of an effort to get them involved. Because she wants to get the people involved because it's going to be a revolution. It's not going to be like, oh, she's going to take over, or no. The people need to realize that he's not the person that they need to be ruled over by, and so it's dope. This is dope. This is dope. So yeah, I'm gonna get ready to end the stream though, but I appreciate you guys all joining though. We can save more discussion for the Discord. So, like I said, so stay tuned tomorrow or later today. I'm gonna be up pretty late today, so it could be later. It could be later today, maybe around like I'm Eastern time, so maybe 12, maybe 11, something like that. Or it could be tomorrow. And if it's tomorrow, then it'll probably be sometime in the afternoon. It'll probably be like around like maybe 1 or 2 or something like that. I'm not really a morning person. But anyway, I appreciate you guys all joining in. I appreciate the likes and everything. And I'm curious to see what else you guys think, and kind of what we're gonna talk about in the Discord. So let me know. Let me know what you guys think. Like the video, all that good stuff. Appreciate you joining in. Peace.